All right, welcome back. We are doing a special episode today. We're going to be doing one of our best digital nomad destinations, and this one's going to be a comparison episode where we're going to be looking at our 7 favorite tropical beach towns through the years that we've been to. We're going to be 3 of us talking about this. Together we have 20 years of digital nomadism, traveling kind of lifestyle between us. We've probably done more than 100 countries. We've spent, each of us, months at a time living with 15, 20, 25 other digital nomads in one place. So we really understand what people are looking for when they go to these kind of places. And I can tell you that the 3 of us absolutely love beach towns, the beach town vibe. So this is very close to our hearts. So it's going to be very, very easy to talk about this. And actually, we're going to have to keep an eye on the time so that we don't go off on tangents, because this is basically our favorite type of destination. Now, why would you listen to this episode? Well, if you are a nomad, if you've maybe done a beach town or a few beach towns and you feel like, there was something incredible about that, and you're wondering, where else in the world am I going to get that kind of feeling again? Or if you're chasing the sun, chasing the beach, chasing the ocean, this is the episode for you, because it'll help you to figure out what might be some of the new destinations that you haven't thought about that should make it onto your beach town bucket list. Or it'll help you to maybe rearrange the order of priority for that bucket list so that you know which one of these you want to hit up next. And of course, we're going to dive a little deeper into each of them as well, so that we can give you some of our absolute favorite bits that you can take away and just make the most of your experience there. So today's episode, I am here with Hannah, and we're going to be inviting in Joe right at the end of the episode as well. So definitely stick around for that. We've got 2 of our really exciting destinations there that the 3 of us are going to be jamming together. To give you a little bit of a background on who we are, Hannah is both a solo traveler and a community traveler, has traveled with Wi-Fi Tribe and outside of it as a solo traveler for a really long time. So she's got a ton of experience in just the whole breadth of that kind of lifestyle. Joe, he is a host at Wi-Fi Tribe and has been doing this lifestyle for years, again, living with 20 other digital nomads for months at a time. And then myself, I am the founder of Wi-Fi Tribe. I've been doing this for 11 years now. I've hosted more than, I think, 65, almost 70 trips by this point, and each of those is also month-long in a specific destination. I'm telling you all of this so that you know that there really is some weight to what we say, and I hope that we're able to give you a ton of value in our conversation. So I want to get us started, Hannah, by talking a little bit about really what the criteria is for us for this conversation, so that we can frame that just a little bit. What do you feel makes a great tropical digital nomad beach town? What would you describe that as?
Yeah, so there's some incredible ones out there. I love all of I love all of the ones that we have on the list. For me personally, it's about the environment that it creates for you. So the day-to-day lifestyle, being able to have a swim in the morning, go to an oceanfront cafe, watch the sunset in the evening, and just day after day getting into that relaxed flow. So I think all of these places are quite laid back, very chill, and beautiful. I feel like none of them can be on this list. They're all stunning for a bunch of different reasons. And I think the other thing that a great beach town has is its own quirks and personality. Somewhere like Pipa has a different vibe to Puerto Escondido. So there's so many things that you can fall in love with, but I guess, one of the reasons people might be listening to this is to see if there's one they gravitate towards. So you have to spend time there, you have to go there, but I think the quirks and the personality make a great little beach town.
Yeah, and I love that you're saying that, Hannah, because I think that's really that's the big question, right? Why do certain places become so popular, or why do certain places have such a strong pull on people? And why do other places that seem to have everything that, you'd say on paper, a digital nomad would want, the good Wi-Fi connection, the amenities, the gyms, and all the other stuff that you might want from that beach town, why do some of those places maybe don't make it? And I think that's exactly it. It's really, really hard to figure out which ones have that character, that personality, that, the je ne sais quoi kind of thing that is pulling you in. I don't know that we can answer that question. What we can do is tell you why we fell in love with each of these places. And maybe through what we share with you, you have the chance to see if that's something that really resonates with you too. So maybe that's the best approach to this. It's just to show you our experience in places that we've really lived in, right? Genuinely spent a lot of time in. Two more things I will say, just to frame our conversation today, is we are going to be talking about tropical beach towns because there are so many different beach towns. I want us to focus on that today. And we're going to be talking about beach towns, not beach cities. There are so many bigger beach cities as well, totally different vibe. That's not what we're going for today. So if that's your vibe, maybe this isn't quite your episode. This one is about those vibey smaller town places, right? We have picked out 7. It was incredibly difficult. The cool part though, in picking these out, it's destinations that we all loved so much. So we all chipped in and said, like, these are the places that we really love. These are the ones that we should talk about today. At the same time, I threw the questions into ChatGPT, and the cool part is that it came up with the same list. They were all in there in the like top 10, top 20 type of destinations, as well as some of the up and coming gems. So we'll be talking about both of those. But again, when you ChatGPT something nowadays, it really is the general answer of the internet, and it can be a little bit watered down and average. What you're getting from our conversation today is our lived experience, what it really is like on the ground and recently, because we've just been there. So to structure this a little bit, we're going to give you an overview of each of those, and we're really going to be asking these 4 questions. Who is it for? What are the vibes and the lifestyle like there? How does it compare to maybe some of these other destinations? Because that's really helpful. If you've been to one, then it's like this, but different, right? And then we want to share with you some of our favorite adventures from there, or really the ultimate experience unlocks. If you know this one thing, it's going to make the biggest difference to the whole experience. And right at the end, I want to do a little fast fire round of just summarizing each of the destinations as like a one-liner. So stick around for that so you can really get a feel for what each of the destinations is all about, right? Hannah, let's start with one that's really, really close to both of our hearts, Pipa, Brazil. Now, this is a destination that I know you've done a few years ago. I actually did it for the first time this year. And I can tell you, I thought I had done all of the, top Latin American beach towns. And then I went here and I was like, wow, this just jumped right to the top of my list. And I didn't want to leave. And I already said, I am coming back no matter what. So every moment there was really me spending it saying, this is going to be a repeat, and I'm going to be dragging my friends here too. Hannah, what was it like for you? I know this was a big one for you too.
Pipa is the town that begun my love of beach towns. It was one of the first places I'd been to in South America. And I just, again, it's hard to say what is it that gives something a personality. If we were to try to describe the personality of Pipa, it has a particular energy. As soon as you're there, it just has a spirit and an energy. It's colorful and so beautiful. So for me, this started my love affair with beach towns. And honestly, I think in a way, I kind of measure other beach towns according to Pipa. I think because it's a bit harder to get to.
Scale of 1 to Pipa.
It's a bit harder to get to. There's lots of places in Brazil that they're little tropical island vibes, but this one felt more authentic to me as well. So I adore it. Mm-hmm.
So I'd say if you're thinking about the vibes or the lifestyle of this place, it is, in many ways, there's an essence of Brazil that's kind of captured in this one place. It's actually the destination. I kept on hearing that from people, from locals. They were saying, how did you guys find this place? This is the place where all of the locals from Brazil go, but it's not the known, external tourist kind of destination. So you see a lot of locals having their life, drinking the caipirinha. There's parties happening on the streets. It just feels so much like what you imagine Brazil to be like. And then at the same time, once you kind of just pass that little town and get to the beach, it's just this wide open beach. It's not covered by tourists. It's not covered by people, no matter how many people are visiting the town. The town itself is actually quite small, but that's very different from what you see typically in Europe and Spain, where there's so many tourists all over the beaches. And then one thing that was really amazing about Pipa, I remember, is that we were going out to surf in the mornings, and people were seeing the dolphins as you were surfing. And so for some people, that was a crazy core memory unlocked as we were experiencing that. What was the lifestyle like for you there, Hannah?
Sorry, a month, a lot can happen in a month, but I was just going to say on that point, yeah, when I went there maybe a couple years earlier than you, and a lot of people said it's the place where Brazilians go to holiday. And that already gave me like a lot of confidence, but we had half of the people that I was with, so the chapter Wi-Fi group, take up surfing, and it kind of transformed them. Like they became surfers. They would watch the dolphins every day, and then everywhere they went, they would just keep surfing. So all of us had kind of rituals that we had together. I would go on a walk past the cliffs every single day because it's just ridiculously beautiful. And then like journal, do yoga. We found some really good food spots. We loved kind of co-working in different spots, kind of overlooking the water or just trying different cafes out. It's a very solid sunset spot. But I think the other thing is with Pipa, you can still have fun there. Like it's a beach town, but like there's a couple of bars where it's like, it's a great time without being overwhelming. So honestly, like it was one of those places where day-to-day lifestyle was, the pace was good, it was laid back, it was beautiful. And after a month, like we all just felt very relaxed. So I loved the effect it had on me. Yeah. What was it like for you?
Yeah, the things that come to mind for me are actually surprisingly fitness oriented. First of all, the town is super walkable, so you can go anywhere. There's I'd say actually quite a limited number of cafes. There's maybe 2 or 3 cafes that you would typically, co-work from, get your breakfast, get your coffee from. But there were several gyms, so that made it really easy to stay on top of that fitness. And then just going to the beach in either direction, you could go for these really long jogs because the beaches, they basically go on forever. You just kind of move from one beach over to the next one, to the next kind of like cove. Yeah, and that part was really, really beautiful. So yeah, lifestyle-wise, very manageable, just very lively. I do remember that if you're out during the day, it's the weirdest thing. You're like, oh my God, is this a ghost town? Where is everybody, right? And then come about 5 p.m., all of the locals started to come out. The streets just come alive, and then they're out there until probably midnight or something like that. So if you've got an earlier schedule, you're really living opposite to what the Brazilian lifestyle is like there, which is quite fun. I've got I do want to ask a question. What do you think is the ultimate experience unlock? So if there was one thing that you would recommend to people thinking about people, what should they absolutely do?
Oh, gosh, this is hard. I regret not surfing. I think I'm a little bit intimidated doing the surfing lessons, but having watched everyone go through it, I feel like it was an experience of a lifetime for them. And I think, drink as many Capricornias as you like. That's always good. But for me, I had all these magical moments in the very simple stuff. So we're walking along the beach and we just see a newborn baby turtle going across the water. There was the dolphins on the beach and everything. But there was just all these little magical moments that I had maybe in nature and in connecting with people. And it's weird, like this was 3 years ago, but that's probably what I remember the most. We found this stairway on the cliff and we're like, where does this go? And it went out to this beach and it just became our secret beach. So for me, it was the group of people I was with and everyone was health conscious. So it's kind of like we were all early risers. So I know that's not the best answer, but honestly for me, it was the people and it was just all these magical moments that you can't book a ticket for. You just have to be there. You have to be patient. You have to walk around and just see what happens. Like even if you're just sitting at a cafe and watching what people are doing on the street and how it transforms at night, for me, that was the magic of it. So yeah.
I think if I had to add one thing, to add to that, I would say, I was just looking it up right now as we were talking. There's a bar right on the water called Tavarua Surf Bar, and it is absolutely incredible. I found it only in the last week that we were there, and we were the whole group. One guy actually discovered it and kept on saying, "Hey, you guys should come over and we should co-work from there." And I don't know why, but just nobody did. Nobody paid attention. And then when we finally said, "Okay, we'll come have a look," right? It was one of the last days. And we spent the entire afternoon there. Everybody was working from there at first, and then kind of sunsets over the water. You start eating there. There's a pool table. There's hammocks. It was just, it was the dreamiest place in Pipa. And I was just kicking myself thinking, man, I wish I had found this place right at the beginning, because that would have been a complete unlock for my experience. So much so that I said, I'm going to come back to Pipa, and for at least a long weekend, I want to actually stay and sleep at that bar. Now, this bar is pretty far out of town. You got to walk for like maybe 15, 20 minutes to get there along the beach. And it's through these like rocks and all that. So it's not an easy spot to get to, but it is so unbelievably beautiful, and it is absolutely worth it. So yeah, please don't miss out on that if you.
Yeah, I do have one other thing to say that was an unlock for me. Carnival. If you're interested in it, so we went, kind of stayed in Pipa the month before Carnival. I wasn't planning to go, but then with Wi-Fi Tribe, there was all these people who decided to go. So we ended up maybe 30 tribe members all together, met up for Carnival. So we it was very interesting, very like healthy, beautiful, very calming environment in Pipa. And then this wild Carnival experience with all these people I had bonded with. And Brazil became one of my favorite places. So obviously, like there's different surf seasons and different times to visit. But if you're into Carnival, it's an interesting time to be in Brazil that time of year. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, it actually happens that we are going to be back right in time for Carnival with the next chapter. So I'm really happy that it worked out that way, because the last year, the time that I went, we missed the Carnival, and people went together after, which was fun as well, but I didn't get to go. I'm going to move us on to another really, really exciting destination. And I will say this has actually been, I must have been there 10 years ago now, 11 years ago. It was one of the first destinations that I ever did with Wi-Fi Tribe, actually the second right after our chapter in Bolivia. So this is officially something like 350 chapters ago, which is nuts. And it is San Juan del Sur in Nicaragua. That is another place that, I hold in my heart forever, for many reasons. I think one of the reasons is that it was very much a first. This is where, for me, this lifestyle in many ways began. The first time that I was in a completely new country living this way, where we were really kicking everything off, but also I was in this jungle country. I was going from beach to beach. We had this villa with an infinity pool overlooking the ocean on top of a cliff, and it felt like I was living some kind of a movie. And I think that must have been for me a crazy core memory as well. From there, and we weren't even on the beach of San Juan del Sur, but from there, then we did a weekend trip to San Juan del Sur and realized, wow, this is the place where we'd really like to do a chapter in the future, because it's just such a cool, vibey little surf town. Hannah, what made you first fall in love with San Juan del Sur?
It took time, Diego. I think that was the same way. I really didn't know what to expect. And again, every beach town has its own personality. It felt quite remote when we got there, and it's a very simple beach town. If you want something really polished, luxury, pristine, it's not that. It's a little more like rugged. And I was like, but that's why I love it. First of all, it's beautiful. So there's kind of the bay and then all these big, beautiful mountains. So there's that, and the sunsets, ridiculous. I'm a sucker for a sunset every night, so beautiful. So it took me a little while, and I needed to get a scooter as well to really appreciate it. It's a very walkable town. It's beautiful, and I again think it's an easy place to maintain the healthy lifestyle. But with this one, it took me a little bit more time to really get into it. I don't know if I personally, just go there for a week. I think you need time, you need to get the routine, and then once you're flowing with it, it's magic. I was very lucky to be on the first chapter we've had there in a while. And the housing, I think it's probably the nicest housing I've ever stayed in with Wi-Fi Tribe.
That's what they said.
Hopefully we can show some videos. It was jaw-dropping. The entire time, like every day would just be like, can you believe this? So obviously you can go there solo, but the tribe housing, it's just, it was stunning. We were in the pool every day, the view of the bay, like it really did feel like we were in a movie as well. And I think the other thing is that it has surf town energy, like real surf town energy. Like people barefoot. It's not too, you know, refined or anything. But once you get into it, like you feel like you're part of the fabric and part of the place. So yeah, I loved it in the end, but it took me time to warm up a little bit. Yeah.
I think you've described the vibes of it really, really well. So what I'm going to try to do is compare it to some of the other destinations that I've been to, maybe some that we'll bring up in this list as well, to give somebody else who might have been to some of the others an idea of how it compares. Well, to Pipa, I would say Nicaragua or San Juan del Sur, it's a much bigger town. So to walk from one side to the other, you're walking more. At the same time, Pipa is probably a more developed town. It's just that much more compact. So that's quite interesting, that kind of comparison that you had of it being San Juan del Sur being a little bit more rough around the edges, more like barefoot, more like hardcore surfers. That's a little different in Pipa. While people are surfing, there's like the town that is almost separate to the surf action in that sense. I'd also compare, I think interesting ones to compare are actually Costa Rica in general and Nicaragua as two countries to compare in that sense. Costa Rica is quite pricey. It is, you know, stunning, the nature, the animals, the beaches, the surf there. It's a destination that has earned its reputation for tourism. You know, globally, people go there a lot, but certainly from the US, there's a lot of people that know Costa Rica, and it's just the staple tourism destination. But it's also very pricey. Nicaragua, on the other hand, is a country that you can access so much of that. The nature is very similar. Again, the animals that you see there, the scenery, the beaches are very similar in many ways, but the cost is a lot lower. So you'll also find a different type of person that typically travels there. There's more kind of this, like, you know, again, rough around the edges, more backpackers, more kind of people in that hipster party surfing kind of vibe. So that's the kind of town that you get with San Juan del Sur. A really, really cool place. Now, what would you say is the ultimate experience unlock from when you've been there? What do you think somebody has to do if they go there?
It's a great base. Like we did all our weekdays there, but I think a weekend trip to Ometepe was beautiful. The group actually missed the last ferry, so they accidentally stayed there overnight, and it turned into a 5-hour karaoke evening. So they came back and they were happy. So yeah, Ometepe, it's an island. It obviously takes a few hours to get to, but two big, beautiful volcanoes, and just not anything super fancy, but beautiful, and just sunsets every night, beautiful swimming, beautiful food. And we also checked out Granada, which is like the style of the city is absolutely beautiful. Like I did a walking tour there, and I think I really didn't know that much about the history of the country. I'd say, you know, while you're there, tapping into that and learning about that is like very important too. The other thing I just wanted to say is in regards to pricing. It's interesting because not everywhere that's on our list now might be on our list in 5 years. Beach towns get popular, they pop and they change. And I would say with San Juan, it's becoming more popular. So what I've heard is like the prices of food and stuff are slowly going up. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. But yeah. I see it on so many lists now. So I think it is kind of going up, but that's another reason to go now before everyone hits it. And it's kind of like very, very touristy. But yeah, Ometepe, absolutely. Loved Granada, and just there's so many other weekend trips I would have done there, but we just didn't have time. So what about you?
Yeah, I can tell you one of my favorite trips was the volcano boarding. That's a crazy thing. So you have to go all the way to the north, but that's really cool. And then the other one that I'd say is a bit of a must is quad biking. I'm an adrenaline junkie, so wherever I go, I'd be quad biking, ATVing, whatever you call it. It's a cool place to do that because you're going through these, again, the rugged terrain, in and out of beaches, through the jungle. It's a very adventurous country and city destination. It's honestly, if that's your vibe, this is beach town plus adventure, and I really, really recommend it for that. Cool. Let's move us on to another really exciting one, not too far away geographically from this one, but now we're hopping over into Mexico. There are many beach towns in Mexico, and there are many that, like you said, Hannah, have kind of like come and gone. They've had their popular moments. Some have been totally over touristed and eventually just had massive buildings all over them and kind of completely killed the vibe that used to be there. This one that I'm talking about is one that we discovered for the first time right around the time of the pandemic, right before it kicked off. And when we found it back then, it was tiny. There was almost nothing going on there. And I remember when the whole crew got there and we spent a month living there together, I think there's 25, 30 of us there. Everybody said, oh my God, I need to buy land here. I need to buy a property here because this place is incredible and it is about to blow up, right? So there was this energy in the room where everybody felt that we had to do it. Long story short, 2 people did. They did very well. The others tried. We didn't manage to pull it off, unfortunately. It did end up blowing up and it's become a really, really popular place. I am talking about Puerto Escondido. Yeah, very exciting destination. Hannah, you actually spent some time in this one off chapter, so basically doing your solo travels. What made you fall in love with it? What's the story there?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is just a beach town that everyone will love, and for good reason. But for me, I think it's got lifestyle and infrastructure. A bit more so. So, you've got the restaurants, you've got the yoga studios, you've got the nightlife. There's lots of different areas. So it's not that it's necessarily like a big city, but there's just a lot more maybe flexibility in the type of life you can lead. And it's also a very social town. I stayed at Co-Lives there. I had some tribers in town as well. But it's somewhere I think if like you're maybe a new nomad, if you just put yourself out there a little, it's a very social place. And at the same time, you can still have the routine and the lifestyle, and there's just always something to do without it being overwhelming. But yeah. I do agree, it's transforming. I had some very interesting conversations with digital nomads who had experienced it before and experienced it now. I still loved it. I'm sure I would have loved it 4 years ago too, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually very keen to go back because I haven't had the chance to see it in such a long time. There's one member of our community who ended up there and that became his forever base. And then he set up a fitness company there, and he's basically the reason behind the massive fitness movement that's now happening in Puerto Escondido. So moving on to what the vibe is like, who it's for, the lifestyle really of the place. It started off as a classic little surf spot. There was really just one small side of this long beach where all of the surfers were congregating. And so what typically happens with these beach towns, especially when they're in their early stages, you'll get the surfers coming first, then you'll get the hippies coming in, and it starts to get really, really vibey. Then you kind of get the hipsters. They'll start to bring in the cafes and the little, the cute little places. Then of course the digital nomads are like, yay, there's avocado toast and cafes. And so they start coming in, and then it starts to develop more and more. Internet infrastructure goes up. When we were there, the internet infrastructure was quite iffy. Now, obviously, all of that is super developed. Again, the fitness scene has gone forward a lot. And the food scene, I remember even back then, was amazing. You're in Mexico, right? So you're getting all of your favorite Mexican food right there on the beach. It wasn't expensive, at least not when I was there. And I just remember my favorite bit of it. Now, I'm going to say this is my kind of ultimate experience unlock is every day, go to the beach for the sunset, and just be a part of that community. You can play volleyball. There's always people meeting up there playing volleyball as the sun is setting. There's people just sitting there watching the sunset, chatting together. There's literally any version of a community that exists on a beach, you will find it there. It's such a wonderful communal moment where everyone kind of congregates at the end of the day to, I don't know, just celebrate being alive another day and being in such a cool place, being able to exist there. Yeah. How would you say this compares to other places that you've been to, other beach towns?
I'd say this has one of the more serious surf scenes. What I'd say is again, I might be wrong. It wouldn't be the place I would take my first surf lesson. I was there towards November, which is surf season. And this is where they do the professional competitions. So there's waves, and they're good waves. And I've never seen professional surfers. It was actually, I would just on my lunch break sit there and watch it. So there's that aspect. This one's definitely a bit more crowded, a bit more busier, and more going on. And if that's your vibe, that's absolutely wonderful. You can still absolutely find quiet spots, like we would do day trips. We went to the Oyster Festival. If you're wondering what the Oyster Festival is, it's a day where the locals swim out, try to find the biggest oyster, and there's a competition for who has the biggest oyster. So yeah, I highly recommend it. But yeah, and I'd also say it's a great place to explore different interests. There's kind of like, if you're more into like the health side, the yoga side, you can kind of find a studio for anything there. There's even, plant medicines. There's like, it's a great place to kind of explore different things. Try surfing if you're very brave. But yeah, I think compared to the other destinations on our list, this is probably the most established now, for good reason. Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting because I was in a nightclub one night. And I could see the silhouette of a tribe I'd never met, but I knew it was them. And they came back to Puerto Escondido every year, and they were telling me like the club we were in was the only one they had 5 years ago, and just trying to explain kind of the scope of how fast it was developing. So it was very interesting to see. In that time of year, it did get more crowded. So I think this is part of like deciding what beach town is for you and what you like. And if you want that social stuff and way more activities, it's great for all of that too. If you like lots of quiet, maybe more of a Pipa. Yeah.
And then I'll say also, get there before it changes too much, because it really is a wonderful place. But there will be a moment where, unfortunately, many of these beach towns are going to have changed a lot, right? That brings me on to our next one. This is our fourth on the list. And this one, actually very interesting. I think it's a place that doesn't actually change all that much. And for some interesting reasons, I also think that this is probably why this particular beach town is one of my favorites. And I think it's one of its best characteristics. It's maybe the thing that makes it so unique. So we're moving over to Costa Rica. I talked about Costa Rica briefly in comparison with Nicaragua before. This one in particular is Santa Teresa. Back when we started Wi-Fi Tribe, everybody was already talking about this place. Santa Teresa was, even 10 years ago, already a place that people knew that you should absolutely go to. And it was becoming more and more a nomad hotspot as well. What makes it so unique and so cool as a beach town is that it exists like this. The town is not right on the beach. There's the town that stretches along the beach, but in parallel. And in between the town and the beach is this probably like, I don't know what it is, maybe 30, 50 meters. So it's quite a stretch of just jungle. And so if you go through that jungle in these little paths and you get out on the other side of it, you see the beach, you turn around and you just see jungle. And that's so rare. It's so wonderful to be able to be on, the stunning Central American beach and not have it be completely built up. And no matter how the town develops, the beach still looks and feels the same, because Costa Rica is really good at protecting these zones. So this must just be a belt of protected land area. It also means that you get to see all of the animals that you're coming to Costa Rica to hopefully be able to see: the sloths, the incredible birds, the monkeys, right? And that is something that you can't really get in any of the other places that we've described to this extent. I would say the other destination of the ones that we're talking about now that is very kind of natural and in the jungle, and you see a lot of those animals, would probably be Bocas del Toro, right? Pipa has a little bit of that, but Bocas del Toro, and we'll talk about that one in a second, is somewhat similar in that sense. Now, Santa Teresa, I've been to a few times. It is a little bit more pricey, so you have to bear that in mind. But it's a quality place. It's really, really amazing. It has its own surfing as well. I would say also the surf is probably in most places a little bit more advanced. So maybe it's not the first place to go to as a beginner surfer. And it also attracts a kind of more, more vibey hipster crowd. There's a good amount of nightlife, but nothing big. The town does stretch pretty far, so to walk from one end to the other, I think you're walking for more than an hour along that road, right? So actually being able to have maybe a motorbike or an ATV there to get around does help a little bit. My ultimate experience unlock for Costa Rica would probably be, don't just stay in Santa Teresa. The rest of the country is so stunning. I think you have to go to multiple places. I remember that we as a crew went to visit one of the volcanoes, and that was just a weekend trip to rent out this massive villa, basically, huge, beautiful villa with all of your friends. It had kind of this long alleyway that you would drive down with a car with palm trees on either side. So it was absolutely epic, and that was an experience that really stuck with me. The other thing is we also do sometimes chapters on the other side of Costa Rica in Puerto Viejo, which is actually very close to Panama, very close to Bocas. So there's just so many different versions of Costa Rica that are worth exploring. And the animals that you see there are just incredible. Like coming face to face with a sloth, it's an experience. It's something absolutely amazing. Right, at this point, what we want to do is invite Joe into the conversation, because there are 2 more destinations that we want to tell you about, and we believe that Joe needs to be in for these. He is an avid surfer, and he probably has some of the coolest experiences from these. So let's hear it from Joe. Okay, welcome in, Joe. So for the next destination, this is going to be the 5th on our list. I'm really excited for you to be the person talking about this one. This is a place that you and I have been to. We've both loved a lot, but your story is the really, really interesting one here, because there is so much depth to it. Everybody's going to find out why in just a second. We are talking about Weligama in Sri Lanka. And I guess my question to you, Joe, is what made you fall in love with this place?
I love Sri Lanka. It was the first place I moved to as sort of like a traveler, and I ended up spending 2 years there, most of the time on the South Coast. I still like to say I am still finding sand from my time 10 years ago, like strewn all over my belongings. And it really is the place where I think I became an adult, where I grew into myself. And so for that reason, I feel like deeply connected to the southern coast of Sri Lanka and Weligama. And it's also just objectively a perfect, wonderful beach town.
What would you say are the vibes of this place? What's the lifestyle like there?
In my opinion, the perfect beach town doesn't demand too much of you. It is slow rolling. You can kind of choose your own adventure. Maybe it's cafes. Maybe it's like laying out on the beach. Maybe it's like high octane surfing. But Weligama is chill, first and foremost. Like, you are on island time in like the best possible way. There's sort of this interesting juxtaposition of like how hectic the roads and things can be in Sri Lanka versus just like 40 feet to the south is just like the most calm, mellow beach. And so I think that sort of sums it up as this like nexus of the pristine, calm Indian Ocean and then like the wonderful overstimulation of Sri Lanka at times.
And I think when we both went there, of course, we also, I mean, you've been there twice now, right? You were there, that's kind of where everything happened, the big story. And then you came back again later on a chapter with a crew. And we both got to stay in this place that's basically right on the beach, right? So that's that lifestyle of going out and instantly being able to take your surfboard, going out and exploring. When I did a quick bit of research on Sri Lanka in general and the beach towns there, it was interesting. The 3 of the top beach towns in general, so just like worldwide that came up, were in Sri Lanka. And it was Weligama, Ahangama, and Hirikatiya. Now, I've only been to, or I've spent a lot of time in Weligama. I've briefly been in Ahangama, and I would say beautiful place as well. But I think you've probably had a chance to be around more of those places, right? And travel around Sri Lanka a little bit more.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I got from when I lived in Sri Lanka 10 years ago to when I did the chapter about 2 years ago, Weligama feels almost exactly the same. Like, there's maybe one or two more hotels. maybe like one spot of the beach is a little bit more built up. Ahangama and Hirakatia are night and day from my first time there. Ahangama was like a transit town. There wasn't really cafes. There really wasn't like a beach, like tourist culture there. And then Hirakatia was, they called it Secret Bay back in the day because it was like the perfect horseshoe bay we don't want to tell people about. Flash forward now, both Ahangama and Hirakatia are like the bustling hotspots. There's a beach club at Hirakatia, so it really is not so secret. And for good reason, it is like the most idyllic, perfect, equatorial, like scenic landscape. You have the tiniest little horseshoe bay, turtles, waves, cafes. It really is worth the like drive from Chapter. I think it's about like a 45-minute scooter ride, and was definitely a place I would visit all the time, both built up and not.
I've got one more question that we've been asking for all of these destinations. What would you say is it's kind of like the ultimate experience unlock? So if somebody goes to Waligama or to Sri Lanka in general, what is the thing that you absolutely have to do that's going to make the biggest difference to your experience there?
Sort of an impossible question, and how I would answer is do a dawn patrol, which is what we surfers love to call waking up before the sunrise and sort of scouting out which breaks to go to. And some of my most favorite memories in Sri Lanka was waking up at like 4 a.m., getting on my scooter, sort of escaping through the night to Hirakatia and being the first ones in the water. And whether you're a surfer, whether you just want to sit, like splash around, being there before the world wakes up and sort of like swimming in this warm ocean and seeing like the daylight slowly rise and hearing like the cafes open, it's sort of the most perfect day imaginable. And when you have had an adventure before you've had like an iced coffee, you feel pretty accomplished.
That's absolutely amazing. I think for me, it was similar. It was going out every morning for a walk as the sun was rising. There's something, I mean, the beaches there are stunning, and you're walking all the way along this beach. Probably takes you, 45 minutes from one side to the other. You've got jungle on one side and just this long beach walk to the other side. You see the fisher boats starting to come in at a certain time, and they're starting their business, and everything starts to come to life. It was a really, really cool experience. My regret is that I didn't surf there, and it's hard to say to you because you love surfing so much. You've experienced so many cool places through it. So I have to go back and I have to try that again. But Joe, there's an even more important piece to this whole story that ties back into what you are doing right now. A major, major turning point in your life, a massive achievement that all of us are cheering you on from the sidelines. Would you show us the book and tell us how this links back to?
I have this huge cardboard cutout that's downstairs, but what I will show you is I'm writing my memoir that touches on my time in Sri Lanka. That's sort of the main setting, and it's sort of based off of like this journal right here. And the origin of this memoir is my life's most prized possession, and as you can see, it's sort of like crumbling and falling apart. And so during COVID, I decided to like type it into a computer just to save it. And as I was doing so, I was like, oh shit, I think it's a book. Like it was almost this like,
wow,
like immediate calling where I had to do it. So I've spent most of my Wi-Fi Tribe career working on this book, and I'm so excited that it is available for pre-order and will come out next year.
That's amazing. And I know that everybody in the community who knows you has been following your journey and is really excited to see it. So what a cool way to have sort of full circle moment, how that ties into this. Really, really awesome. So Joe, we're all rooting for you on this one. To our second last destination, and I want to catch it before the sun is down over here, Bocas del Toro. Now that's a personal, huge favorite of mine for a whole bunch of reasons, but I'm going to throw the question to you first, Joe. What made you fall in love with this place?
Well, I have only done a weekend trip there, and it was my favorite weekend trip from the Puerto Viejo chapter. And we had the time of our damn lives. Bocas del Toro is sort of, I like to describe it as like a Caribbean Venice, where you are traveling to and from hotspots via the ocean, sort of through canals. It is like an aquatic first destination. It's, I believe, an archipelago. And it's just a blast. It is for like those who love a beach, those who love a hike, and those who love a party, is sort of the vibe I was getting in Bocas del Toro. And I wish I could have candidly spent a whole chapter there.
I'm going to add, for those who love a boat day, because you can get a catamaran with all your friends and go from island to island, which is nuts. And for those who love an ATV adventure. I've done ATVs in every country that I've been to where you can do ATVs. And I've done it in Bolivia as well. I'm half Bolivian. And yes, I will say that this is by far the coolest ATV experience I've ever done anywhere. And I've done it twice now because it's that good. It's you basically, there's this guy there who calls himself a pirate. He's built this whole pirate themed ATV rental place. He's got a peg leg, so he's fully leaned into the theme. And he basically created this trail throughout the jungle that you just get a key to some gate for, and that's it. You go down it with your ATV. And then he had competitors that started to come in and have other people go down those trails as well. So being the pirate that he is, he started to lay what he called booby traps, and he will give his customers a map through the jungle that the other people from the competing companies don't have. And so he actually has a full-time member of staff whose job it is just to get people out of the mud and basically out of those trails once they fall into the booby traps. But it is the coolest experience you can ever do. Like, it is wild, it's high adrenaline adventure, but it's also just stunning because every now and then you pop out of the jungle and you see just the most stunning, Caribbean beach in front of you. Then you keep driving back into the jungle again and you're just weaving in and out. It's an insane experience. And at some point, you even end up at this airstrip in the middle of the jungle that used to be a place where the drug cartels were flying in to do their business. Like, it is that wild of a place. Obviously not in use nowadays anymore. But yeah, so that's my story of it, and also I guess why I've fallen in love with it. The other thing I will say about it is, it's one of the rare places where you get to see the Caribbean vibe, where you've got these houses on stilts on the water, and you actually get to live on the water. And for all of the time that we did Wi-Fi Tribe, so now 11 years running, I had heard about Bocas right at the beginning, and I'd always seen those photos, and I'd always wanted to stay in one of those places, and we never quite managed to. And so finally, this time around is the first time that we found places that are on the water. It's this little kind of like village, all together in one place, and yeah, so that'll be a bit of a dream come true if I do manage to come back to it. What would you say, Joe, what's the lifestyle like there? The day-to-day life that you've seen. I know it's only been the weekend, but I'm curious what you picked up on there.
Well, I can sort of extrapolate from the time spent living around that region coastally, in which sometimes I call it a one errand a day destination, where sometimes we're in like these beautiful mega cities like Japan and Seoul or, so be it. And you can just accomplish so much just by proxy of like what is around you. Whereas sometimes it's really nice to swing to the other side of the spectrum and live in a one errand a day, which means like if you can do groceries and like maybe go to the gym that day, you've kind of like hit your quota. And I mean that in like a really wonderful way. It is so nice to like slow down to that degree. And so yeah, it's chill, it's very relaxed, it is very iconically Caribbean, which is slower. And I think people who can like appreciate that and build their patience for it, like find a lot of magic there.
100%. Yeah. Amazing. Well, the last destination that we have on our list, and we looked at all these, we put them through ChatGPT, wanted to see where it all lines up, and these ultimately came out to be our favorites. But this one in particular is one that I think for the three of us is on our hit list, it's a place that we haven't been to yet. So there's not much describing we can do on that. Hopefully we'll be able to do an episode soon. Next year, we're actually going to be going there for the first time. It's Siargao in the Philippines. One little anecdote or story I can tell you about it is that we had a member of our community who I met in Bali, actually right after the chapter where you were running in Bali, Joe. And he's half from the Philippines, half from Australia. And he went back there to Siargao, settled down there, built up a paddle court, and that is his life now. And so we reached out to him years after that, and said, hey, I think we want to go there. What do you say? Would you welcome us in? Would you have us play at your paddle court? And so it's going to be another wonderful full circle where the tribe effectively comes to him, and he's going to be able to show us around a little bit. And we'll get to experience it for the first time. But yes, I've heard so many great things about it, and this is one of those destinations that in all of my research, it's been coming up, and it seems to be one of those that it's really, right now it's a hot one. So I'm not sure if you guys have heard anything about this one, but I'm excited for it.
I've heard lots. This has been sort of top of my bucket list as both like a destination to experience and a destination to surf. I've had lots of friends who have lived there for months at a time who say only the best things about it. I know a couple like people who have opened their own surf camps there, and it looks miraculous and right up Wi-Fi Tribe's alley. So I'm selfishly campaigning for that spot.
I was going to say, I think when it first went on the calendar, it was one of our highest voted destinations. It was coming up all the time. And I think we tallied it, and it's really up there. So years in the making, very exciting.
Of the destinations that we've been to, of the ones that we've talked about today, which is one that just doesn't let you go? It's one that you still dream of going back to, or maybe it's one that wasn't on this list. I'd love to be able to share that. So we're talking specifically about beach towns, right? I'm going to say that for me, it is Bocas, Bocas del Toro, because I had that dream of living on these stilts on the water. When I was a kid, I grew up partially in Venezuela. We would go to these Caribbean islands, and it was just the most beautiful thing to be able to experience as a kid. And I think I attached so many amazing memories to that. To be able to come back to the Caribbean and to live a Caribbean version of that, it's different. Every Caribbean island is different. And this one is so unique, so iconic. But there's a Caribbean flavor that runs through them all. And I'd love to have that one more time. I'd love to experience that again.
I grew up with two paintings above my bed of two iconic beach towns. One was New York City, which I think you can classify as a beach town if you really want to. And then the one right below it was the Seychelles. And I have still never gone to the Seychelles, but I slept for a decade looking at it above my pillow. And so I know a part of me won't feel satisfied or fulfilled in life until I can see that in person. And everyone who I've talked to who has gone to the Seychelles say, the photos don't do it justice. So that's top of my list.
Mine would be Pipa. I don't know if it's possible for you to have chemistry with a destination, but I don't know why I have chemistry with Pipa. I remember standing on a cliff one day and I got butterflies and I was really confused. I'm like, what is this feeling I'm having for this place? And it's actually the same where for me, it's just I guess when you do things for the first time, they're so precious to you. This was one of my first beach towns, and since I was 14, I was looking through a book and I saw a Carnival Samba Queen, and after that I'm like, I'm gonna go to Brazil one day. And it was my very first time, so I was just astonished. It's still worth going, absolutely. It's magical, it's cinematic beauty, but it just holds a place in my heart. Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, everybody, if you made it this far, thank you for listening in to our ramblings. I hope that it's been helpful to help you just figure out what maybe might be the next beach town that you want to go to. And if you're still here at this point and you don't know much about Wi-Fi Tribe, well, it might just be worth knowing that we are a community of remote professionals, entrepreneurs. We travel together. We spend a month at a time living in different destinations. Many of those are beach towns like these that we talked about today. Joe is a host. I'm a host. Hannah's hosted a chapter in the past as well. So we are the kind of people that you would see there, that you would meet there. And this is basically just the lifestyle that we've been doing for many, many, many years. And there is always room for one more. So check it out. And Joe, where can people see your book? Where can people pre-order?
You can pre-order Inside the Riptide by Joe Santini wherever books are sold digitally. So Amazon, Barnes & Noble, bookshop.org to honor those indie bookstores. And I believe that's it.
Love it. Amazing. Thank you. Bye.